With primaries being held in several states across the country, there was some very surprising and major blows to the progressive left. Squad member Jamal Bowman, you may remember him, the guy that didn't know how to use a door and allegedly tripped the fire alarm, although coincidentally with a bipartisan debt ceiling vote being held, loses his Democratic primary in New York. Jamal Bowman, a very loud and angry progressive congressman and member of the illustrious squad, was defeated in a closely watched primary by George Latimer, marking the first electoral loss for the progressive faction. Bowman, who had initially unseated a long-term incumbent by criticizing his lack of local focus, faced similar criticisms in his own campaign. His opponent, Latimer, a centrist Democrat, moderate, argued that Bowman had become more engaged in foreign affairs and less in local community issues, a significant factor in his defeat. Latimer's decisive victory suggests a shift in the Democratic Party towards more centrist, pragmatic candidates. Let's face it, it's not a sudden shift. It is the fact that the Democratic electors, the voters, are coming back and saying enough is enough. We are more moderate. Moderates are starting to stand up. Moderates are starting to take back control over their party and no longer allow a tyrannical fringe. And this could be said on the Republican side, and I'm hopeful that the Republicans will be saying, giving the same mandate to that fringe groups, but of centrist, common sense leadership. Latimer, who had been leading in the polls by 20 plus points, had a decisive win by 20 percentage points. That is a shellacking, people, in campaign speak. And this shift should be very concerning to this progressive moment led by Bernie Sanders. Chair of the New York Democratic Party highlighted this trend, emphasizing that the party favors common sense governance over more extreme positions. And this change signals potential challenges for other progressive incumbents in upcoming elections. Bowman's defeat was influenced by several factors, including redistricting that diluted his base, but also the controversies over his fire alarm incident, which he pled to, substantial financial opposition from AIPAC, which spent nearly $15 million on the race. His allies argued that these external influences, particularly the heavy spending by AIPAC, played a critical role in his loss. Let's debunk that, because that is just a red herring. They're trying to trick you and saying, oh, this pro-Israeli PAC, they're the reason why they're doing it. And as Bernie Sanders, I would love to be able to do his voice because he sounds like Kermit the Frog, or the old man from the Muppet Show, saying, oh, these people, they're coming in, these corporate bugs. The money follows the elections that are most able to uproot. The polls were indicating that Bowman, who was highly unpopular, he was saying, besides what he was stating against Israel, very pro-Hamas, very pro-Palestinian verbiage in a highly Jewish concentrated area. Basically Bowman pissed off his constituents that were Jewish or are Jewish, but also he forgot that he's there not to push an agenda or an international agenda or a far left agenda. He was there to represent the constituents that voted him in 2020, or I'm sorry, in 2018. But the bottom line is that he lost. And this is a huge red flag for other progressives. Now, this didn't have any impact. And if you look at, like, say, AOC's re-election or the primary there, she won handily in her primary election. And that is because she comes from a district that is highly progressive. Bowman does not. Know where you are coming from. Know who you're representing. Know who your people are. And that is the case here. And so talking about this pro-Israel group, which is one of many, the Alliance for Israel, PAC, also now is saying, okay, they saw that they had a win, that they intend to go after other very far left reaching candidates. And one of the other people that is on the bubble is Cori Bush, another squad member. So are we seeing the less influenced by this squad, the ridiculousness of this hugely progressive PAC? But when people are railing against this PAC, remember that Bowman, even in his concession speech, when he wasn't yelling at his constituents and the evils of AIPAC and such, he was thinking that in Michigan, a large Muslim PAC was giving him a lot of financing for his campaign. Majority of his financing came also from San Francisco and California, not in the local base, unlike his opponent who won. And while these groups have been seeing some successes in many races, these groups have also not been able to have high-profile contests, which is now more notable history of both victories and failures, such as targeting incumbents like Representative Mary Newman and Representative Andy Levine, but also facing defeats in races where they invested heavily, like Bowman's 2020 primary against Elliot L. Engel and other high spend races. And moving away from Bowman's in New York, Colorado and Utah primaries also were held, seeing Boebert, remember Lauren? Lauren Boebert faced significant primary challenges, and she won in a new district. But President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, experienced setbacks as 3 of his endorsed candidates for Senate, House, and governor lost in their primaries, marking a significant departure from his previous success rate. So basically, putting up these MAGA extreme candidates against moderate Republicans, the moderates won in that primary. The moderates starting to stand up. And the reason being, because the vast majority of Americans are not extreme positionings. They want moderation. They want consensus. They want leadership and bipartisan agreements to be able to propel this country forward on a more leveled basis. And that is not what we have been experiencing. We have been experiencing extremism on both sides of the aisle taking over because they're so loud, because the bolstering and stuff. So, even before MAGA, it was the Freedom Caucus, then it was the Tea Party, and then it was the Progressives, and it was the Squad, and it's, the Green Party. You have such a loud basis that is such a small percentage of the totality of the parties, and people are getting sick of it. So I applaud you, Coloradians. I applaud you, Utahs. I don't know if you're Utonians, but Utah residents, and I applaud the people who are going out to vote in their primaries to show enough is enough. We want moderation. We want more central common sense policies, and that is what we here at Purple Politics have been stating. And with this, especially the blow to Bowman, it is showing as shining a spotlight on Cori Bush. Now, Cori Bush is also seen as a somewhat weakened candidate because she has her own issues. Cori is looking at federal finance law issues because of her security detail paying her now husband through her campaign finances. And she may be another significant blow to the AOC-led squad. And as we're looking at this, so AIPAC and allied groups have focused on exploiting internal Democratic Party divides over Israel, pledging to target left-leaning members of the squad. However, they have strategically avoided races where their investments may not yield significant results. Again, the money goes to those races where there is an opening. Before AIPAC got involved, Bowman was the polls were showing him down by 20 plus percentage points over his opponent. And Cori Bush is also seeing polls that show that she is in a detrimental position. So while the AIPAC and other pro-Israeli, pro-Jewish, or common sense political action groups did not heavily invest in primaries faced by Representative Summer Lee or other squad members like AOC, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, or Craig Kasser, they are going to be pushing now towards Cori Bush, and maybe we can start seeing this pool. And by the way, for those Republicans that may be watching this and thinking, yes, we're winning, they're doing, this is actually a good thing for the Democratic Party, because the centrists, the moderates are standing up and saying enough is enough. Because the what was traditionally the Democratic Party has been hijacked, just like the Republican Party, the traditional Ronald Reagan Republican Party has been hijacked. And we're starting to see moderate, more voters coming out and saying, we want moderation, we want consensus, we want centrist, because it's common sense. So bravo to these voters. Bravo for doing what you feel that is in your best interest. And it's also a big message for our elected officials. You are elected to represent we the people. You are there to be to go on a national basis, but also the best interest of your constituents. And it's time to start focusing on what is in the best interest of the United States of America, what is in the best interest for your majority of your constituents, not these fringe groups, not these extreme positions, not these extreme issues that are not favored by the vast majority. Tune right back after this commercial break, and we will be getting into SCOTUS news.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Godet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life.
Have you ever had to hire multiple contractors? It is a daunting task that takes a lot of management time and impacts the core business or the company, the time you spend with your loved ones. At Texas Home Property Solutions, you can count on a responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with a high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.
Supreme Court of the United States watch continues. Yes, we have had many cases being decided, and we've had some, like a little peekaboo of an opinion, then it was brought down again, and maybe there's some leaks, who knows? But there were some major significant cases that were finally released by the Supreme Court of the United States. And I will say most importantly, and number one, especially since it's a major election issue in the presidential election, Supreme Court allows emergency abortions in Idaho. The Supreme Court decided not to rule on whether Idaho's stringent abortion law conflicts with the federal law that mandates emergency care for patients, including pregnant women needing abortions due to complications. The decision leaves a lower court ruling in place that allows doctors in Idaho to perform emergency abortions without setting a precedent for other states. The court's decision, anticipated due to a leaked draft, means the issue could be revisited in future cases. Attorney General Merrick Garland expressed that the Justice Department will continue to push for its interpretation of the federal law, ensuring that women in Idaho have access to emergency care. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson voiced her dissent, criticizing the court for not resolving the conflict immediately. Conservatives, Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch, also dissented, with Alito arguing against the Biden administration's stance that federal law necessitates abortion in non-life-threatening health complications. A 5-justice coalition, yes, coalition, it was not done based on conservative or liberal, consisting of both conservative and liberal justices, opted not to decide the case. They basically punted it. Honestly, it was, they took the safe route, if I may. I respect these justices. I respect all of our court justices, whether I agree with their decisions or not, but they basically punted this. It's going to come back again very soon. But the noting the changes in the context of the cases since they agreed to hear them. So that's the key here, right? The decision leaves legal ambiguity in states with similar abortion bans. Idaho's legal battle over its abortion law continues, with possible further complications if political leadership changes in future elections. The Idaho abortion ban, enacted in 2020 and activated in 2022 after Roe's reversal, imposes severe penalties on those performing abortions, with exceptions for life-threatening situations. The federal government sued, resulting in a federal judge blocking parts of Idaho's law that conflicted with the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, which requires emergency care, including abortions, when a woman's health is at risk. There are severe health risks, not life-threatening, but severe enough to make her a risk. The Supreme Court's refusal to make a definitive ruling maintains confusion over the precedence of federal versus state law regarding abortions. This decision, coupled with ongoing litigation, leaves Idaho and potentially other states in a state of legal uncertainty. However, there's already, I believe it's in New Mexico. They have a stringent one. There's already another case coming forward that will probably hit the U.S. Supreme Court next year, which also falls in line with this. This was specific to Idaho. That one, so it's going to be pushed. Eventually, they're going to have to deal with this. They can't just punt the ball and keep punting it down the field. So the hope is that eventually we will see whether the constituents, like here in Florida, they're putting it on the ballot, the right to an abortion. Unless that changes, you're going to see this issue come up again and again. Another significant case is the Supreme Court rejected a challenge to Biden administration's contacts with social media companies. So this is the First Amendment appeal. The Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision authored by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, rejected a First Amendment challenge to the Biden administration's efforts to communicate with social media companies regarding misinformation on COVID-19 and the 2020 election. The majority opinion concluded that the plaintiffs, including 2 Republican-led states and individual users, lacked standing to sue because they failed to demonstrate a direct link between the government outreach and censorship of their views on social media platforms. Justice Barrett emphasized that social media companies had their own First Amendment rights and were already moderating content independently before any government intervention. The court found that the plaintiffs did not prove a substantial risk of future harm traceable to government actions, describing such claims as speculative. The ruling allows executive branch agencies like the White House, CDC, and FBI to continue collaborating with social media platforms on content moderation. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre welcomed the decision, highlighting support. Okay, so everybody's blowing up about this because basically what this is stating is these are private companies. They have a right to their own First Amendment rights, and if they don't want certain groups or users like Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or X to voice those things, they have a right to pull them, and they were. And then and that was before, that was during the COVID years. And then you had the administration basically telling this, this is going to backfire because trust me, the Republicans are all up in arms. This is against the First Amendment. They have now allowed government to reach into, these Twitter and stuff. And I will tell you, as a user of TikTok, X, and all these, I have noticed a remarkable difference in what is in my feed. So there's definitely going back, and there is a backlash against, say, more conservative or more MAGA sense voices, because I could see it in the algorithms and I can see it on people that I used to follow, what they're stating that they're being stripped. And this is happening on TikTok. And supposed China controlled company that is a lot of stripping and shadow bans and things of that nature are now happening. But what this basically saying is all those companies have the right to do so because they have their own First Amendment, and also basically that the people who were bringing these lawsuits cannot have a direct nexus of the harm that they were perceiving. Now, the Supreme Court did not provide new standards on when government interaction with social media might infringe on free speech, leaving such questions unresolved for future cases. Now, let's just put this. If, let's say, Trump wins his bid for election for a second term as president, and let's say he started doing this, I guarantee you we'll be seeing a lot of lawsuits. But if Trump were, this can come back to bite the hand that feeds everybody. So right now, yes, the FBI can say, call up Facebook, call up X, call up all these and say, hey, you need to censor these. We don't want you talking about 2020. We don't want to do this. Well, then let's just say, for instance, if the Trump administration regains the White House, then they could always say, okay, you need to pull all Jan 6 information, all the trans activists, all this. So it can go both ways. But right now, the bottom line is these are private entities. They are not government entities. And therefore, those private entities even had the right to basically say, nope, we're not doing that. On another Supreme Court case that came down, it blocks Biden's plan on air pollution. The Supreme Court, in a 5-4 decision, temporarily blocked a Biden administration environmental regulation intended to reduce interstate air pollution that contributes to smog formation. This ruling came in response to requests from Republican-led states like Indiana, Ohio, and West Virginia, along with various industries, including natural gas pipeline operators who argued against the regulation's implementation. The regulation, known as the EPA's Good Neighbor Plan, was designed to address nitrogen oxide pollution from industrial facilities in 23 states, aiming to improve air quality. However, lower court rulings had already halted its enforcement in 12 of these states because of the effect of the other states. And this underscores the Supreme Court's cautious stance on federal regulatory powers. But there was another case that was just released, and it has huge implications. So the Supreme Court basically stated that the Securities Enforcement Commission, the SEC, cannot have an administrative judge hand out civil litigation. So let me backtrack. Sorry, this just came down and I don't have a script on this. Okay, so the SEC, whenever someone is alleged to commit some type of stock fraud or insider trading or something, and it does not have a criminal liability. This is civil only. Cases were brought before the SEC, and the SEC would be permitted would take it to their adjudicatory, like a general magistrate or a hearing officer within the administration, and then the administration would come, that hearing officer or general magistrate would then impose sanctions, would impose a fine, would impose licensing issues on a civil matter. So it does have an effect because, you can have cases where it could be a loss of employability. You lose your license, things of that. Well, one defendant specifically came back and stated that this was unfair because it was an adjudication that had severe ramifications on it, and he is not being tried by a jury. Well, the justices, and this was again a 6-3 split, came down saying that this administration that the SEC does not have the right, does not have the authority to bring forward these civil litigations, that these civil litigations must be brought before a judiciary with a potential for a jury trial. Of course, Sotomayor, writing for the dissent, was saying that this is going to upend 170 years of I don't know if that's necessarily true, but 100 years of administrative hearings. It also has implications that other agencies, that this is basically turning back the powers that the agencies have, because let's face it, the Congress has for decades been relinquishing their authority to make laws, and giving agencies the right to administer rules and policies as well as judicial positions, to the point that you do not have any other means. So what this basically does is saying, SEC, you must take this to court, you have to have a jury, but also this is a blowback to a lot of the administrations, this current administration's push of allowing agencies to make policies that are detrimental to industries or businesses or individuals, and not having any recourse for that individual. So this is a blow to the Democratic, or to the Biden administration, because Biden has been, basically thumbing his nose at the equal branches and doing things, such as the rollback, trying to have the Department of Education roll back Title IX protections. Only Congress can do that. Or like the student loan forgiveness, only Congress can do that, but he continues to do so, or try to, even though the courts keep saying he is overreaching his authority. He's also has emboldened the bureaucratic administration agencies to bring forth fire and brimstone on agencies or companies that do not fit within that leeway. So this is a huge case especially for those bureaucratic administration machines, and it'll be interesting to see how this is going to proceed forward on those civil actions. I am Alina Gonzalez. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to continue talking about latest criminal and trial results that are coming out in Trump's Mar-a-Lago case, as well as student loan repayment. Tune right back after this quick commercial break.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure, and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock-bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again. Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Like so many of you who watched the 2024 first presidential debate, I was dismayed, disillusioned, and disheartened to see what I witnessed. Democrats are privately discussing replacing Biden on the presidential ticket, and there is no doubt that Biden is incapacitated in some way. President Joe Biden's performance in the first debate on Thursday has led to renewed criticism from Democrats, prompting discussions about whether he should continue as the party's nominee. Historically, a national party has never successfully replaced its nominee without consent due to the complex rules and potential failure of such an effort. Despite past considerations in both parties, which this was a consideration in 2016 against Donald Trump, such actions had never been taken. The Democratic National Committee's charter does include provisions for replacing a nominee in cases of incapacity or voluntary withdrawal, but the likelihood of an anti-Biden coup at the convention remains low. And the reality is there is no way of replacing Biden without Biden voluntarily stepping down. If Biden were to drop out before the convention, it would result in a chaotic scenario without a clear successor, as he has already secured almost all the delegates from the primaries, but he ran basically unopposed. And that was the DNC's own doing. Remember, they refused to allow RFK to be on the ticket. They basically forced any primary candidates out. If Biden were to decide to withdraw, which honestly may be in the best interest for democracy, for the Democratic Party, but especially for democracy, then the Democratic Party would need to find a new nominee. This process would involve a majority vote from the roughly 4,000 pledged delegates. However, let's discuss this, because if Biden were to be convinced, and let's face it, the only person who probably would be able to convince him would be his wife, Jill. And I have serious doubts as to whether Jill wants Biden to step down. And questions are now arising. Is Jill really one of the puppeteers in the background? If he were, Vice President Kamala Harris is not the answer the DNC wishes to go forward, because she has less of an approval rating than Biden, which is hard to believe considering he's in the 38th percentile. But names such as Gavin Newsom being thrown around, and now the governor of Pennsylvania is also being thrown around. But how did we get here where literally CNN, MSNBC, I mean, we're talking major liberal, Democratic Party propaganda machines are even saying we are in trouble. They are sounding the alarms. Why is it? Well, there were key debate moments where Biden stumbled. In this first debate of the U.S. election campaign between Joe Biden and Donald Trump was marked by a chaotic and disjointed exchange, with both candidates failing to deliver convincing performances. Let me make this clear. Trump did not trounce Biden and win decisively. He wins by default. Trump wins by default because Biden was so ineffective and sadly looking so lost. Biden struggled to articulate his points, often fumbling with his responses, while Trump was criticized for a performance filled with half-truths. The debate frequently descended into farce, with the candidates bickering over trivial matters such as their golfing abilities and even admitting they were behaving like children. One of Biden's worst moments occurred when he stumbled over his words while discussing the national debt, confusing millions and billions and mixing up tax rates before losing his train of thought completely. Trump seized the opportunity in stating that Biden's verbal slip-up, basically stating, and I don't know if it was mocking Biden in the sense that he was like, it was his time to reply. Biden got lost, and you will see this. It's being played over and over again that Biden was lost and then finally saying we defeated Medicare. When he was slipping Medicare, he was confusing it with COVID. He was confusing it with so many things. And Trump basically said, I don't know what he was saying in that last minute, and I don't believe he even understands what he was saying. And that is so true, because all of us were left scratching our heads going, could this really be happening? And remind everybody, this wasn't just on our national stage. This was being broadcast internationally. Biden's incoherent answers on border security provided Trump with another chance to attack, a moment that could have significant repercussions given the importance of the issue to many voters, to the point that the Border Patrol Union even stated that during the debate hosted, they did not endorse Biden because Biden falsely claimed that he was being endorsed by the Border Patrol. The debate also featured heated exchanges on more serious matters. Biden angrily confronted Trump over allegations that he referred to military members as losers and suckers, bringing up his late son, Beau Biden, in an emotional rebuttal. Trump denied the accusations, calling them fabricated. And in fact, on Fact Finders, stated that has been debunked several years ago. In another surprising moment, Biden blatantly referenced Trump's alleged affairs with porn star Stormy Daniels, accusing him of having the morals of an alley cat, which Trump responded with a flat denial. Never in my years would I have thought that I would have seen a presidential candidate and former president stating on national television, I did not sleep with the porn star. This is where we're at. This is the disillusionment. This is the disheartening part of this. Biden's disastrous night stands to alter the course of this election. So, with Biden 81 appearing even more frail and struggling to communicate effectively, setting a tone of concern and panic among Democrats early in the debate. His chief debate coach, Ron Klain, has often stated that while a debate can be lost at any time, it can only be won in the first 30 minutes. And by that measure, Biden's performance was a severe blow, leading to immediate Democratic apprehension about the viability of his candidacy. With Biden's approval rating already well below 40% and his narrow victory in key battleground states in 2020, the stakes are very high. The debate offers Biden a critical opportunity to reassure voters to his capability, but instead he seemed to diminish it and diminished in incoherent times, particularly on important issues such as Medicare, immigration. I mean, even during his response of abortion, it was muddled. So what can be done? What can Democrats do to avoid this Biden problem? Well, they're now starting to see strategically the big donors are going to be announcing and stating that we need to get rid of Biden. But is it too late? This is beyond. This was, I mean, we have worse and worse options. That is what the sad part of this is. But the bottom line is with the Democratic National Convention beginning August 19th, there is a month and a half, a little over a month and a half for the Biden campaign team, but more importantly, the Democratic Party, but also those big donors, those big PACs, because let's face it, how the DNC works is there are 30 major people basically making the decisions of how the DNC works and goes forward. Those are the major funders. And when you are having major funders ringing a bell and sounding the siren saying, we have a problem, and how are we going to go forward? Because as it was last night, it is clear Biden is incapacitated. It is clear that Biden is not going to beat Trump, because it is now even more scary that even though, as you know, even setting aside Trump and his antics and his bombastic ways, the reality is everybody knows everything about Trump. We've been hearing it for the past 8 years plus. Actually, it's probably more like 10 years since 2016. But the bottom line is that what is happening to our democracy? What is happening to the viability of having candidates that are worthy of sitting in that White House? So let's look at that. Is it going to be Newsom? Is it going to be Gretchen Whitmer? Is it going to be Joseph Shapiro, or even Governor Pritzker? This is going to be something that we're going to be watching, because the Democratic National Committee is scrambling. We're going to cut to a quick break, and we're going to continue our analysis of this debate debacle.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
Have you ever had to hire multiple contractors? It is a daunting task that takes a lot of management time and impacts the core business or the company that time you're spent with your loved ones. At Texas Home Property Solutions, you can count on a responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with the high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.
So this election, everybody's saying this is the most important election of our lives, and it may very well be so, especially for those younger viewers, the Gen Zs and the millennials, in somewhat part. However, what we have here is, as you know, even like Bill O'Reilly stated this, Chris Cuomo, some of the other big pundits, what was really occurring last night, everybody should feel bad for the American people. Because though the mainstream medias want to show that we are divisive, and the two-party system, the Democratic National Party and the Republican National Party, thrive on the divisiveness by making sure that they make it like we're at war with each other, which is crazy. We're not at war with each other. We are the United States of America. We are neighbors. We are communities. This is us. But the bottom line is that they want us to believe that we are so divided and we're at lock stock, fighting against each other, when the reality is that's just the fringe. That is the fear monger. And the vast majority of us that are the electorates, the vast majority of us that just want to enjoy our lives by being prosperous, by being able to give legacies to our children, to raise our children, for them to have the best education, the best health, for those of us that have elderly parents, that they receive the proper care that they deserve. We're all in union. We may have some differences of opinion, but we are pretty much unified. And that's the vast majority of 70% of us, if not maybe more. And I would say it's probably more. It's probably more like 75 to 80. And one of the people that is currently running for president is the third-party candidate, Robert F. Kennedy, who was not allowed on that debate floor, but he held his own debate in union in the same time as this debate, answering the same questions. Now, what we're going to go through, So what we want to show, though, is before I go in through the major takeaways, I mean, as I stated before, it was disheartening to see Biden. Did he improve, as Kamala Harris stated, that he improved at the end? Yes. Would it most likely seem like if he were given some type of medication, maybe the medication didn't kick in until 45 minutes into the debate? Possibly, but the bottom line is that he truly was fumbling, mumbling. And it's not a cold like the White House press staff was trying to state. It wasn't that. It is the fact that this is a man that has been showing more and more that his incapacitation than his confidence. We have a clip of that many of you may have seen over and over again, but it points out the issues we are having, but even more so, not only for a candidate for president, but this is our sitting president. There are serious concerns here. We're going to cut to this quick clip from the debate.
Every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
Every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID.
And
with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look,
that was just one of the many. Look, I am compassionate. Yes, President Biden has a stutter, and he has done incredible in controlling that stutter. This goes beyond having a stutter, having a speech impediment, if you will. This is someone who does not have cohesive thoughts. He was not able to form it. And even with all of the prep, and we're talking locked away in Camp David with advisors and medical personnel, most likely, for over a week to just prepare for that 90-minute moment where he had the questions and he knew what was going to be asked of him, he was still unable to form cohesive thoughts. Yes, there were moments where he was, and honestly, when he's getting combative, it seemed like he might have had his more lucidity. And yes, Trump and Biden disagreed on abortion. They disagreed on the inflation, climate change, foreign affairs, and immigration. But the sharpest contrast was in their presentation. Mr. Trump's bar wasn't that high either that he had to surpass. All he had to do was behave yourself. And he did, for the most part. Congratulations, kudos, because the reality is that everything that the Biden campaign wanted in those rules benefited Trump. Cutting off those mics, muting it. He was actually very patient. He was bombastic, and yes, he has his hyperbolic, he's the best of everything. But the reality is that he portrayed himself as confident, forceful. Even though he let loose a stream of misleading attacks and falsehoods, he was the one who portrayed himself as a more fit, capacitated person. Mr. Biden spoke with a hoarse and halting voice, closing his eyes occasionally to gather thoughts, and sometimes couldn't be corralled. I mean, even while that split screen did not assist Biden either. While Trump was speaking, Biden was seen to stare off in space. I mean, supposedly the rules stated that he didn't have earbuds. People couldn't be talking. And I question whether he had someone in his ear or he was looking to someone off stage. But the reality is that he was slack-jawed. He looked confused. He looked dazed. He looked lost in many times. Mr. Trump was relentlessly hammering Mr. Biden on areas of vulnerability, sending exaggerations and embellishments. He was the greatest and his opponent was the worst. flying unchecked through an audience-free CNN studio in Atlanta. But the bottom line is that the debate exposed Biden's biggest weaknesses. And any hope that Biden is strong and capable died within those 90 minutes. And Trump made his case largely unimpeded because they were not fact-checking. They were not interrupting. But is it anything new that we haven't heard? No, it's the same stuff. I mean, even for Trump to kind of do the low blow of calling Joe Biden Brandon. It's Trump being Trump, unfortunately. And, I will tell you, it's discouraged, but I was also extremely frustrated with Trump because all I wanted him to do was answer the questions of the policies that he will be installing for the future. What happened in 2020 happened. What happened in his administration, we can all look at. What are the policies that he's going to put in place that is going to help us, the people? And he refused to do so. It was always, oh, I'm better than the other opponent. So, I mean, it's typical Trump. And the moderators, I'm going to tell you, everybody was expecting that maybe the moderators who were CNN anchors would have been very judgmental or very one-sided. They did a very, very good job. They were very moderate. They were giving the questions. They weren't jumping in to help it. And they were very hands-off. And one thing's for certain, Trump, in his statement, I will say, I thought he did beautifully initially when they asked him about Jan 6, when he pointed out that inflation was lower on January 6th, that the economy was thriving in January 6th. And on January 6th, there were no wars in the Middle East or in Ukraine. And those were great points they did, but he isn't going to admit that, he lost. Of course not. It's incapable for him to do so. We're going to leave you here tonight with these few words. It is on us. It is on you, the people of the United States, who we're going to elect as our next president. But more importantly, we, the United States, deserve better in a sitting president as well. And it is unfortunate that currently our president is showing severe incapacitation, and our next choice is not great either. We want unity. We deserve better. We need to start speaking up. And you know what? It's not just the presidential election. It's also the congressional elections. It's also our state elections. So I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. I am leaving you to start standing up and ask and demand that we have common sense and leadership, that we demand that we have unity. I wish you a wonderful weekend and a good night, and for more hope for our future.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.